Alright, so live stream, so on from here. Alright, so many of you have been requesting a little bit of a refresh and walkthrough of PDAnet. So that's what I'm going to do today. From install to troubleshooting, like I've said in the past two videos, I've gone through it all. I've been working through a couple new techniques with it. I have a separate computer that I'm going to set up as a server, network server for the entire house, and I can go into that in further detail. But for now, we're going to start from download, install. I'm not going to show the phone install. That's basically the App Store. Like I said in the last video, I do not know if Android 9.0 works with the current version of PDAnet. That's something you guys can look at on your own, but the key app and whatever else I believe does. Just the version of PDAnet does not. And you can use the previous links for that, but for now I'm just going to do the install and some troubleshooting and do a quick basic network installation and how networking works. So to get PDAnet, you go to pdanet.co. It's hosted by June Fabrics. You click download, and you can install. It gives you all the lists to install all the files. We want to download the Windows client app. Keep. Once it finishes downloading, obviously you're going to open it up. And I don't want to really uninstall, but basically you'll get a screen, multiple screens that pop up that ask if you want to install a network driver. And what a network driver is, if you look in your network connections in control panel, the network driver is this guy right here. This is what allows the computer to interface with the phone as if it were a network. That being said, the interface here is just a virtual Ethernet connection like the port you have on the back of your computer that you would normally plug into like your router or your broadband source or whatever else. But this is a virtual connection between phone and your computer over USB, right? Moving on from there, I listed in the comments section of the last video that the ADB driver, which is the Android debugging driver, is what allows the communication between the phone and the computer to happen. So that's just taking the phone's input and output system and converting it to that of the computers. So it's just communicating over USB. Nothing really important, you just have to install it. So, and the ADB driver does a lot more than just allow you to communicate. You can interface with it and program your phone over ADB and the control panel. But for our uses, it's just allowing us to communicate with the phone to the computer and just do that two-way process of sending and receiving data. Because, like I've mentioned in the past, the phone is acting like your gateway to the internet. It's allowing the computer to access its system of sending and receiving files over a cellular network. So just some basic kind of networking. The phone is acting as a DHCP server, which is basically just assigning the IP address computer. So if I go to PDAnet broadband connection, I go to properties, down to IPv4. It says obtain an IP address automatically. So that means I'm not assigning one. So normally it could be if your computer is acting like a DHCP server, so it's assigning devices an IP address, it would be like, for example, 192.168.1.1. And generally a .1 configuration is your gateway. So the client side of handling the internet connection. So that's what I do with sending it out to other computers and other devices. So as an example, I go into properties and I go into sharing, and I'm sharing it with Ethernet connection right now. Now in the Ethernet connection area, I go into IPv4, and I have set an IP address because my computer is acting like the DHCP server, but I don't want to set the IP address in PDAnet 1 because the PDAnet 1 is receiving data. It's not acting like the DHCP server. So I'm sharing the connection over to Ethernet, the normal Ethernet port, and then assigning it to be the DHCP server. All right. And you may ask why I don't bridge these two connections. That's because if you try and bridge them, it doesn't work. It'll actually turn off PDAnet. I don't know why. It just has always done that for me. What else? It sounded like people were having problems connecting, I'm kind of confused by some of the comments, but when you actually go to use PDAnet, you want to generally install it as using Wi-Fi or USB, just in case. So right now, I am connected over USB. It's a superior method of communication. It's faster than wireless, just in this case. It's less hoops for the phone to jump through. But on your phone, you just click USB, initialize USB tethering, plug your phone in, and click connect. The only problem you may run into is if you don't have the key app installed. So that'd be Foxfi Key. And without Foxfi Key, you're limited to, I don't remember how many megabytes, but it's not a lot. You aren't going to be able to use it long term because you'd have to keep grabbing your phone and initializing it, and it's just a pain. Other than that, pretty much sure that's it. But I'm gonna create a Discord server and add that in for any help because I've gone through everything with PDAnet. It's pain, but it's also it's also really useful. It's the only way I'm able to get reliable internet. You may also want to turn off your Windows firewall. It sounds counterintuitive, but all I'm going to tell you is just don't download malware. Don't try and download more RAM. It doesn't work. But yeah, your Windows firewall may cause some problems. I have not really seen any problems except the ports getting blocked. But there are certain ports that do not work over PDAnet or your cellular device, and that's just because they're high bandwidth ports. Usually cell companies don't like to enable them. I called Verizon. They said you'd have to buy an extra plan and have limited usage, so I'm not even going to attempt it. So games like Assassin's Creed Unity, you can't play online because they work over this virtual local area network that doesn't work. So wouldn't suggest trying it or buying this extra package. It just doesn't work. So yeah, I'm going to create a Discord server and add that in. So if anybody wants to join and ask questions, I'll be available. All right. Thanks, guys.